wake
All right. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, everybody's doing great. We have a crazy show for tonight. We have live call-in for tonight. We will be posting all this up um on the bar. Oops. All right. So, we have some stuff to go over today. As well. Phone lines are open, y'all. If y'all wanted to call in, we are about to start sharing this stuff over on platforms, so everybody knows that we are live. Uh, all right. We have some stuff going over today. Sorry about that, y'all. We have some stuff going on about Iran and the strait. We also have stuff going on with Russia under more attacks than what they've already suffered already. Um, Massive damage. Y'all don't want to miss tonight's show. We have a crazy one. We are going to be doing live stream call-ins. As you can see, the number is up on the screen. We will be posting another one up on the screen just to make sure that everybody sees what's going on. We have quite a bit to go over here. 1 second. Let me copy this. Like I said, why is that doing that? But like I said, we have a lot to go over for tonight, so y'all don't want to miss it. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't know why that is doing that for. Well, we'll just remove you from there. And then hit you with this. There we go. There we go, y'all. Now we got y'all. Yeah, don't mess around. Y'all can call in anytime. Open call. Oh, the line is open, y'all.
Of news that we have to cover throughout the day, and also crazy stuff happening literally right this second. We've seen today that Iranian fast attack boats were deployed in the Strait of Hormuz. About 70 of them or so swarmed the entire strait, and that's a huge situation. We've also seen major airstrikes erupt near the Syrian-Jordan border, and also Russia is currently panicking as Ukraine is striking near Moscow, and also a couple of active situations. Apparently Ust-Luga and Primorsk are about to be under attack as we speak, live right now in the air. There's also major U.S. Air Force evacuation is taking place in the Middle East right now, and also very big reports of jet activity over the Iraqi capital of Baghdad and around near the Syrian too. So it's a lot going on, but it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news from around the world, as we have been able to hear of significant developments within most regions of the planet, including the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and also East Asia as well over the course of the day. Significant developments have emerged from the area of the Middle East as a large swarm of Iranian attack boats, somewhere between 50 to 80 of them, are currently swarming the Strait of Hormuz at this moment and are currently within the area of the minefield that has been laid prior by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It is believed at this moment that this may be another wave of vessels that have traveled into the Strait of Hormuz to lay another layer of the minefield once again, showing that the Islamic Republic of Iran is only trying to further bolster its position and indefinite blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, even if armed conflict begins soon. We have also been able to hear that the situation here in the United States side is still remaining as it has been, with last night the first oil crisis fatality being reported as Spirit Airlines officially stopped all operations throughout the United States, effective immediately at 3 a.m. in the morning just today. According to Spirit Airlines' official publication for all seizures of company operations, they announced that it was due to the rising oil prices and the rising cost of aviation-grade jet fuel as a result that made it financially untenable for the company to even limp on forward even another day, leading to their immediate closure over the night. Additionally, we've also been able to hear that the United States of America is once again stating that they will be trying to conduct some form of military action, at least at this point, against the Iranians, as we've also been able to hear that the Iranians have proposed a peace agreement to the United States of America that once again requires the near full capitulation of the United States of America to see that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. We have also been able to hear that domestic fuel prices are still rising within the United States of America, and we are seeing that at this moment it has reached one of the highest levels domestically that we have seen in the entirety of domestic fuel price history within the country. We have also been able to hear that at the same time, a significant amount of U.S. forces are building up within the United Arab Emirates just to the east of Dubai, and we've also seen that a large amount of U.S. support aircraft, particularly those of the C-17 and C-5 varieties, are currently outbound from the Middle East at this moment, with currently what appears to be very little, if not any, return flights flying into the area. We have seen that at the moment there are some aerial tankers which are airborne and operating over the Middle East, but these appear to be the only aircraft that are either attempting to remain within the region or are traveling even deeper into the Middle East. Every other supply aircraft that we have seen so far is conga lining on its way out of the area, at least for now, suggesting that we may be seeing once again that they're making preparations for eventual armed actions against Iran to resume at some moment in time. We've also been able to see that an RC-135 rivet joint was flying over the Persian Gulf today, an incredibly rare occurrence to say the least, while at the same time in Tehran, the Iranian government stated that they were prepared to repel any aggression. The Iranian government also explained away the sound of explosions within Isfahan as them attempting to detonate and destroy dud explosives that landed on the city in the prior phase of the armed conflict, and jet activity was reported over northern Iraq as well. Israeli forces are continuing their battles with Hezbollah within the southern regions of Lebanon, and it does appear that today the Israeli Air Force has been used to heavy effect to be able to try and inflict as much casualties on them as possible. We've also seen that airborne operations have been conducted, or more so airstrikes, have been conducted throughout Syria by the Israelis and the Jordanians, with the Jordanians claiming that they're trying to blow up drug dealers. Don't know where that came from, just kind of came out of left field, but apparently we're watching the Jordanians airstrike drug dealers in southern Syria. I don't really know what kind of drugs they're dealing. I guess hopes and dreams, which are really non-existent in Syria, but nevertheless, it does appear they're bombing those out, whatever may be left of that. We've also been able to hear outside of the region that a vessel has been hijacked today by none other than the Somali pirates.
So just a heads up, everybody, just a heads up. We do have the call-in number on scroll, and we also have the call-in number on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. So just call in. If we are on the phone, please just keep trying to call.
Simultaneously, in Europe, Ukrainian armed forces are conducting major drone attacks against Russian oil infrastructure once again, this time targeting the ports of Ust-Luga and Primorsk within the Baltic Sea region of the Russian Federation. At this very moment on air, we do know that these drones have made it into the Primorsk and Ust-Luga areas and may have already hit their targets, but we are waiting at this time for more video and picture evidence to come out to confirm the exact kind of damage and the size and scale of the destruction that has been caused by these drone attacks at the moment. We've also been able to hear a slight rumor moving around today that the Russians may use tactical nuclear weapons against the state of Ukraine, but we're not sure how credible that information is. That sort of information and threat has been coming out for about the entirety of the war. We've also been able to additionally hear that there was unusual activity on the Belarusian-Ukrainian border today by Belarusian forces, and we've also been able to additionally hear that the Ukrainian armed forces have been inflicting significant casualties onto the Russian Federation's armies throughout the entirety of Ukraine, and have largely stopped any, if not all, advances by the Russians across the entirety of the front over the course of this day. We've also seen the fires in Perm and Tuapse are continuing, and we've now heard that the President of the United States is declaring that more than 5,000 U.S. troops will be withdrawn from NATO, and specifically from EUCOM's area of responsibility. At this moment, NATO is trying to ask the United States why this is being done, and we're also seeing that this is being met with a significant amount of opposition within Europe and the United States of America as well, as it is a disastrous decision as far as U.S. strategic outlooks are concerned, and also those of our allied nations' outlooks are concerned for their security within Europe. But before we move on into all of this news, starting with our largest stories first, and then moving our way on down into the smaller stories throughout the night, we actually have breaking news that's happening at this moment live on air. So Matthew, what do we got?
All right. So tonight we might actually have some breaking news throughout the night. It looks like I'm getting pretty confident about this whole conclusion right now. It looks like final preparations are currently taking place as we speak to get ready to strike Iran. Of course, we've seen a major conga line of U.S. Air Force cargo aircraft. They're currently leaving multiple different bases out of the Middle East, and they appear to be evacuating to Europe. That appears to be what they're doing tonight. And we're also seeing that it looks like a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon apparently has flown out of Eilat, which is in Israel, of course, and it looks like it's heading out to an air base in Sigonella. So it's evacuating as well. So it does appear to be that some of these aircraft, the U.S. Air Force aircraft, are getting out of Dodge right as we've seen that the all the aid to the Gulf states was pretty much forced through without any kind of type of congressional oversight to rush it there for some reason. So it looks like it's about to go down. At this point, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that we should be on probably high alert tomorrow night, on Sunday night, to see exactly if it's going to happen then. It could happen tomorrow night, possibly. I don't think it's going to happen tonight because it's already kind of getting into the daylight hours inside of Iran right now, but it could be maybe late tomorrow evening that we see something start at the earliest, but if not, maybe next weekend. But pretty big news with that. Also, a side note, by the way, we are tracking right now a very large drone attack on what's believed to be Russia's export oil ports of Ust-Luga and Primorsk, so we are keeping an eye on that as well. But right now, that is the active stories happening in the breaking news.
We'll be making sure to cover these stories as we continue to develop the news stories live on air here in just a moment, as it does appear that a lot of these continuations of breaking news coming out at this moment are actually following along with breaking news stories that we've been seeing unfolding over the course of the entirety of the day. And moving us on directly into our breaking news coverage for the rest of the night, starting with our largest stories first and then moving our way on down into the smaller stories throughout the night, we are immediately going to be moving into the Middle East, as we have been able to see a significant amount of developments that are currently ongoing within this region of the world at this time. To give you a little bit of an up-to-date development that we're seeing right now, we are seeing that a significant amount of U.S. aircraft are currently leaving the area, and while we can see that there are a few small numbers of flights that appear to be heading into CENTCOM's area of responsibility, it looks as though most flights are actually heading out about as quickly as possible. We can actually see here as well that several C-17s of the United States Air Force and C-5 Galaxies are currently flying from their bases that they were currently just at in the Middle East and back into Europe. We have also been able to see that P-8 Poseidon is flying over the Mediterranean in some area right now, heading towards Sicily and an airbase there that would be able to support that aircraft once it lands. We are generally understanding that at this moment, most of these sorts of actions of moving a larger amount of the support aircraft out of the area that are not involved in combatant operations is usually a preparatory action that happens just several hours before strikes begin, but I do want to make it clear that right now this window in time might just be a little bit coincidental, and we may be seeing that no strikes are conducted over the course of this weekend. It might be the next weekend or the weekend after that, but it does certainly appear that at the moment, strikes could happen at any time as long as it's on the weekend. We've also been able to see as well that the Islamic Republic of Iran is working its hardest on preparing some form of a military confrontation with the United States, or at least exerting significant amount of control over the area of the Strait of Hormuz at this moment right now. We've been able to see that within the area of the Strait of Hormuz, there was a humongous swarm of speedboats or fast attack boats, which you can see in this picture right here. This kind of looks like bed bugs a little bit on like a navy blue sort of a bed cover, but what that really is a whole bunch of small IRGC fast attack boats. And this specific picture right here, from the very beginning of the formation to the rear of the formation, there are around 80 speedboats in total in this one swarm. We understand that this swarm was moving at high speed throughout the area and was moving through the area of the minefield within the Strait of Hormuz, while another swarm was also moving directly along the area of Qashem Island, which is about another 50 to 70 fast attack boats that is in that completely separate formation, meaning that right now the Islamic Republic of Iran had about 140 to 150 fast attack boats of their navy operating within the Strait of Hormuz just over the course of the past few hours. We've also been able to see more proof of this as well along the coastline of Qashem on that second group or formation that was moving through this area, as the satellite footage did show. One, this large amount of fast attack boats here, and additionally, the humongous swarm that was actually moving east to west along the coastline of the island of Qashem as well earlier on just a few hours ago. From what we understand, this incident happened around noontime here in the United States of America, which means that this would have happened sometime right around the twilight hours, at least within the Islamic Republic of Iran, before nightfall started to set in. These sorts of large groups have only been seen prior since the quote-unquote ceasefire went into effect, when they were being used to go out into the Strait of Hormuz, into the area where the minefield had been laid, and to drop a load of additional mines into the area. It would highly likely be believed that these two groups were conducting a similar action today, as due to their numbers, they're able to ensure a success of their mission, no matter the losses, because they'd be guaranteed to at least drop a couple of dozen mines off, even in the worst case scenario, and in the best case scenario, which is the one that happened for them today, considering that they weren't fired upon, we could understand that they dropped at least 80 mines into the water, if not 160 or more, depending on if each of those boats was carrying 1 mine, 2 mines, or 3 mines per vessel. This is a fairly large presence within the area as well as far as direct control, and it is once again showing us that even still, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' control over the Strait of Hormuz is uncontested, and the United States has not done anything to stop this. This is even against the orders of the President of the United States, who had declared about a week and a half ago orders publicly to the Navy that any fast attack boats that once again scurried out into the middle of the Strait of Hormuz were to be attacked and destroyed by the United States Navy. Over the course of this entire day, not a single fast attack boat was attacked or destroyed by the United States Navy, apparently meaning that that order was nothing more than public optics and showmanship for a little dog and pony show, because we're not seeing that the U.S. Navy or the U.S. military took any actions to stop the Iranians from swarming back into the Hormuz and most likely laying an even larger number of mines into their already pre-existent minefield, only increasing the difficulty of ensuring the freedom of navigation in this area once military operations commence and we start to try and clear shipping lanes through it to allow for commercial ships to pass in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. And this
but get this though. Maybe they're not hitting the individual boats, because keep in mind, that's going to be a very big undertaking. I tried to count them earlier. I think it's like 60, 70, something like that. There's a lot of these little fast attack boats running around the Strait of Hormuz. That's a lot. That's at least 50 plus boats right there that you're looking at just in that one image right there. So that's going to be a lot of munitions being used to take out each and one of those little small ant-sized boats. That's a lot of work. Maybe here's what they're doing instead. Maybe they're trying to do surveillance from the air to see where these boats are going back to, so that way they can track them back to the cave or the areas where they're hiding out, the hardened shelters on the coast, and then when the war restarts, to strike those spots instead and take them out all at one time possibly, or find a way to send in a sea drone into those caves and try to blow up these boats. Maybe that's it possibly, because that would be a lot more efficient if they can find out where they're going.
Maybe, but the U.S. military generally already knows where the subterranean shelters are for these fast attack boats, as they have been photographed under construction decades ago, and there are still continuous satellite photographs being taken of this area over the past few decades since the construction of those pens, and so we would easily know exactly where these boats are going and where they've come from, because there's only so many pens along the coastline, and all of them, from what we understand, are being used. So generally, the fact that we didn't fire upon these fast attack boats isn't us trying to gather reconnaissance here, because we already have reconnaissance from satellite photography that has existed over the past few decades. Importantly, I do have to point out, folks, that because some people are going to say, well, they're hidden subterranean complexes and whatnot, so they're going to be hard to see. The United States of America has had satellite photography capabilities since the late 70s and the 1980s, meaning that we've been able to photograph the Islamic Republic of Iran's abilities around the Strait of Hormuz ever since the Islamic regime came into existence in 1979 when they overthrew the Shah. None of these boat pens existed during the time of the Shah in the Kingdom of Persia. They were all built afterwards under the control of Imam Khomeini and Ali Khamenei, who were the supreme leaders of the Islamic Republic of Iran. That means that when construction was being conducted, the U.S. would have been satellite photographing these facilities under construction, which would be unsettling a large amount amount of sediment on the bottom of the ocean within that area, causing a very large profile. And not only that, we would have been able to know for decades, just looking along their coastline, where in the world there looks to be any form of a boat pin that is inside of a mountain or a cliff face somewhere within the strait, meaning that we don't really need to gather that intelligence at this point. We already know where these boats are coming from. We've been seeing those pins for decades at this point. The reason why they weren't hit is because the U.S. is not doing anything at all for some reason, and the reasoning behind that to me is completely unknown. I couldn't even explain to y'all why we wouldn't be hitting and destroying these boats, because it's not incredibly difficult to do such a thing. An AH-64 Apache can carry 16 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, with each missile having a range of about 25 miles. And a singular Apache could knock out 16 of these boats using one Hellfire on each boat. 2 Apaches would increase that by a factor of 2, meaning that they would then be able to destroy an even larger number of these fast attack boats, almost half of them that were out in the strait today, with just 2 Apaches. A single Apache wing, or a single Apache squadron of 4 Apaches, could have knocked out the entire boat swarm. It's not like these boats have any missile-based air defenses on board. They are quite literally speedboats equipped with unguided rockets and machine guns for attacking surface vessels like merchant ships, so I just don't understand why in the world that action wasn't taken, considering that publicly last week we were told that if any of these boats went out in the strait again, we were going to blow them up.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to figure out today, why did Iran do this? Because it was kind of a risky move to do it, because the prior threat is still in place. The U.S. had ordered, according to the reports that we had heard, they had ordered the destruction of these boats the next time they showed up. So they showed up today. So, I mean, I would assume that Iran was expecting the U.S. to attack. I would assume that, because that was the order that was in place. So the U.S. did not attack. But what was Iran's intent behind doing this, though? Because they knew the threat was there. They sent them out anyway, and they didn't get an attack. So I wonder if they were trying to goad out the U.S. forces to attack early for some reason, possibly, or maybe they were trying to go ahead and spark something ahead of time, because it seems like a strange move by Iran.
Yeah, it does seem like a strange move, and I see some people saying, Enforcer, you're totally wrong, an Apache can only carry 8 Hellfires. Well, that's 16 right there. That's 4 on each pylon, and 4 groups of 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So an Apache can carry 16 Hellfires. It can easily do that. We already know that there are a couple of American U.S. Army AH-64E longbow Apaches in the United Arab Emirates, just a couple of dozen miles away. We already saw pictures by U.S. CENTCOM's area of responsibility of 2 Apaches conducting a patrol in the southern area of the Strait of Hormuz a couple of weeks ago, letting us obviously know that we do have helicopters in the area that are equipped with Hellfires that can destroy these boats. And for other people who are saying, well, the Apaches can't destroy the boats, well, explain to me how AGM-114 Hellfires were used against cartel boats in the Caribbean of the exact same size, the exact same dimensions, and able to travel at the exact same speed as these fast attack boats, and they were easily hit by AGM-114 Hellfires, yet these boats would be elusive to the Hellfire. That doesn't line up at all.
I mean, wasn't sending an Apache into the strait, though? That would be like sending in a sitting duck, basically, because those are not very fast for the most part. So while they could hit the boats, they're also basically a huge target for Iran, too. A surface-to-air missile, a man-pad could possibly hit an Apache in the strait.
Not quite. Manpad only has a range of about 5 miles at max. Most of them do. And an Apache's Hellfire has a expected range of something, I always say 25 miles, which is what's believed to be the absolute epitome of any range of any variant of Hellfire, but generally somewhere in between 15 to 25 miles. And if an Apache was sitting right here over the town of Kuzmar, they could fire out about this far into the strait, which is quite literally into the minefield, exactly where they were at. And those vessels have no way to defend against it, because they're way out of range even if they had air defenses like manpads, and they wouldn't even be able to see them because the Apaches have surface search radars on the longbow variant and the AH-64D